Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been very a pleasure meeting you guys on stage tonight. This is Dustin Bebon on the ones and twos. I am your host, Bebon, the man, the myth, the legend,
the rock and roll man.
And this is coming from a live set from my own personal system. Standing in front of me of a computer equipment and sound system that is a berry galore. But no holding my guest of anything like this. I just keep it going. Like everyone else. R2-D2 style. But enough about me. Let's talk about anyone else out in that lovely internet system that we call Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, MySpace. All those wonderful things that considered to be very respectful in so many levels of ways. Isn't it a doll between a lot of things? Of course. Well, we can't always be very superstitious about everything, can we? Right? But let's no further ado of any certain things out there. The topic of basically today is me talking about myself in this TV show. And anyone can step in here on that and speak to me. But that is totally up to you. You can click on this icon that is on the front of your page that says Dustin Bebon. Come and listen to his live on speaker. Dustin Television Show. It's a link to the description. It sends you to a musical space where you're hearing me live through the voice of my voice, through this microphone, to you. And at this point of time, I am actually on Facebook right now. So if any of you guys are listening, you guys can message me anytime if you want. Or you could just sit there and bicker about every single thing that you see of. But any points of view and all that kind of stuff, while we're at it, at this moment, at this time, and all that, I want to introduce myself, as in me, the guy behind the microphone. I'm a strapping lad myself, but if I keep myself occupied, I can keep everyone on a float, if you get my drift. But enough says. Meet my buddy over here that's in the back. His name is Carl, and he's a good host.
Well, how you guys doing? It's been a while. I haven't seen a group of people like this in so long. Right? Right. Without further ado, I must say, Dustin's been keeping this shit on lock. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be doing the stuff we've been doing, man. Right?
Right, you are, my sir. But enough voices about myself. I'm always 1,000 voices between Aladdin and San Jose. But if I'm speaking out of term and all that kind of stuff, I was thinking about doing a review while I was at it. But I wasn't sure how much I could be qualified to actually bounce back ideas with a certain guy out there that I know. I worked with him for a few months and all that. Me and him have seen a lot of stuff. And if you catch my drift between all that. He's a good friend of mine and all that. No, he's not too half bad on the eyes, but he is a good dude, if you get my point. His name is Scribs, and he's a fantastic musician. Came out with a lot of songs and a lot of stuff. He's been putting on some different links into different videos on his page of his upcoming album that he's coming out with. Soon, every week or every month or every week, basically, dropping down a song or two for all those hot listeners out there that want to try to change the perspective of music. Hip-hop nowadays has lost its edge. If you're worried about listening to a lot of fat beats and someone saying one word out of the whole entire 3 minutes of the song, be my guest. But hip-hop is not what it used to be back in those days. Oh, no. Hip-hop was the shit back in the late 80s, 90s, and late 2000s, or early 2000s. But in the time, it was bigger in the 70s and 80s and 90s. 80s, it was starting to branch out. 90s, it was starting to get a little bit more edgy. But hip-hop nowadays have changed a little bit of their flavor. It's not the same as it used to be back in those times. Music seems a little bit more out of touch with a lot of people. Well, you spend your $17, $20 on a CD nowadays, just to try to get by. But are you sure you're learning to listen to that artist here and there all the time? I don't think so. My point is I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of talented musicians out there waiting to get a good start out there in their own world, letting people listen to what they have created. And it's a matter of life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice and happiness too. But if you know my point, all those kind of things can be shared to a lot of folks. Just remember that what you have put down on a music sound system or anything like that, the stuff you listen to, like I listen to, when I'm doing these podcasts and all that, I have techno music playing in the background. Because if I put word songs in here or anything like that, it seems gibberish, or I could be a part of some kind of commute. But that's not the case. I'm reaching a full level of just talking to people. Myself and I try to keep myself occupied. I have so many voices in my head that somehow they always like to scream out and say hello. But what can I be dire of needs? People nowadays could just listen to music every day. But I must say, there's not a lot of far talented musicians out there. Anyone can write a song. Anyone can put down $1,000 on a track of a recording of themselves. Do they have the balls to write the stuff down? Of course they do. If you're a drummer, a lead singer, or an artist, or any form of talent that you have, you want to explore the world as everyone else wants to explore. Well, that's maybe the trouble in things like that. People don't like listening to things that you make, and you're trying to find that way to give it out to out the world for other people can hear it. That's fine. But just saying for close capturing, everyone has their personality of a way of listening to music and understanding music. Like myself. I was a DJ for 4 years and all that. I only listened to a lot of metal and rock and classical rock and a little bit of pop and all that. But then when I started being a DJ, my world opened up wide. So I listened to everything from acapella to all the way to jazz musicians to house music all the way to reggae. And the world is very striking high, Used to listen to a lot of country, still do listen to a lot of country. But let's just face it, ladies and gentlemen. The stuff that you listen to, it gets your feet going once in a while. But is it long-term lasting? Anyone can write a hit, right? It's just a matter if they can keep it going. Right? Don't use all the ketchup. Because if you use all the ketchup, there's no ketchup left. So you want to savor it. Right? That's what we're thinking about music. Music needs to be savior. If music's not savior, then everyone's just giving everything they got into it. Not giving anyone a chance. But enough is said and all that. I'm just scoping out the area. I could put a YouTube video up, but I've gotten too old for that. So it's just going to be me doing all the voicing over here. Right, Carl?
Right.
But, it's always about being spontaneous about things. And if we're not spontaneous in what we do, I wouldn't be the musician that I am today. Granted, I don't really have a good record of bands I've been in. But I don't give up. I practice, right? I get good. I listen to a lot of music. I build my chops up so I can succeed in something that I can succeed in. When I used to play for Minor Rockstar, I originally wanted to be the lead guitar player. That spot was filled with a nice 15-year-old girl that was a real Eddie Van Halen, female version of Eddie Van Halen. Far, far from capabilities of anyone else. In the age of she was at, she could have been the next world's famous female guitar player. And she is. She's really good. And then again, after that spot was full, I wanted to be a drummer. I was always really good at drums. And then we had a drummer. Originally, the band was Vex 14 back in those days and all that. But who knows? It could have been different at the time. But, needless to say, we had a great drummer, Dylan. He was a badass drummer. Far from his time and all that, but he's been working with a lot of different musicians for the longest times. Did a lot of studio work. I think he still does studio work. I'm not sure. My point is we had I became the bass player of the band. I had to go out and spend $300 on a bass amp, but I had a bass amp, so hey, I had a bass guitar, so I made it work. Figuring the background between me and all that, I played a guitar for over 14 years, and I've been on drums for 17 years. I picked up the bass 10 years ago and all that. So, but I've been classically trained on the piano a couple times back in the day when I was 6. But I've always been conspired myself into a lot of music. And it's always been interesting in those kind of things, Music's very particular with how you approach it. It doesn't matter how many times you play the guitar, you play it, right? Like everyone else does. Or if you can sing like anyone out there, like famous stars I can think of I don't know. I don't really have anything in my head at this point. Besides singing like Elvis. Who can sing like Elvis? Please. Let's lay down the torch on that guy, right? But it's those kind of things. But I played bass with the band for a while, and we had a good run. And things didn't work out, and we all separated. It is what it is. It happens. No one can complain about that. No one can argue about that. But it is what it is. The point is when you're in a band, you have to have certain limitations to deal with and all that. There's certain things that you want to strive in. What is your strengths? What is your weakness? What can you abandon yourself into? What can you mold? And all that. Are you more about the music or are you more about the lyrics? Especially when you're trying to write originals. When you're trying to write originals, you're trying to figure out what message you're trying to get at. Or you think of an instrumental. The music is more important. How much guitar, how grungy do you want to get? Or what's the drums going to sound like? Or what's the bass going to sound like? What about those synths, those harmonies, all those things that roll into one that make this thing that we call a hit? And if people don't find what that hit is or what that thing that sparks the light that keeps them going on these kind of things, I don't know. The point is most people believe in certain things like that. And you could say that I'm just being careless about things, but I'm not. Idealist is not trying to beat around the bush. Then again, I'm just sitting here rambling about music, right? But I've been playing music for a very long time. Sheesh. Let me see if I can put a finger down. I've been playing a long period of time. I think about like maybe 14, 12 years straight. Really, that's my musical background of how much I play. And that's equal between all the instruments I have, because it takes a long time to kind of, like, build a calluses and try to build your chops and try to build technique and stuff like that, because I have arthritis, so it's kind of hard for me to pick up a guitar and just play it. So I have to wear these hand braces every night when I go to sleep. So then my hands don't kind of freeze up on me. They get numb once in a while, but that's here nor there. That happens regardless if I don't wear them or I pull the muscle or pulled something, basically. But I listen to a lot of different music. I actually build playlists on my computer and all that with certain different kind of artists, and I actually manipulate the song the way they play it. And most of the songs I find are very complex, but very simple, but very what's the word I'm looking for? Complicated. Like really interesting to play, because they're ways of getting my fingers to go the way I want them to go. So, but I think that it was a good idea for me, and I enjoyed it. I still do. I still like picking up the guitar once in a while. I still like working on like certain projects and stuff like that. I started building a little small recording studio in my garage, and it's not a big studio, but hey, since I worked with a band and all that, been in and out of a studio, so I kind of put 2 and 2 together, basically, and figured out the rest by myself. I have a good Behringer mix board. I have really good microphones. I have really good computers that have really good response times on them for recording and stuff like that, and I have really good amps. I have a good collection of guitars. I have a full drum kit. I learned how to mic that up. I don't really have professional mics on everything, but I mic it enough where you can actually hear all the toms and all the crash cymbals and all the drive and hi-hats, bass drum, snare, the whole works. But I do what I can, I work really hard to strive the way I want to play, in my life, basically, Like I said, it's not something that it's simple for me to do. It's challenging every single day to pick up a guitar and try new things every single time. But as a bass player, I kind of, when I took the role in the band Vex 14, I thought it was a joke in the beginning for a while. I thought, wow, geez, man, this thing is so easy, but I had a buddy of mine. Me and him started a band a long time ago, and we switched instruments. I gave him my Squier PV bass, and he gave me his nylon acoustic that cost $200 and all that. We switched our instruments. I started forming myself on a guitar more, and he started learning how to play the bass. And oh my God, dude! If me and him actually sat down in my recording studio and put our brains together, God, he came up with so many different melodies on the bass that it was not funny for anyone. I mean, these bass parts were so difficult, so rhythmly and all that all I have to come up with is he pretty much built a platform for me to stand on when I wrote guitar parts. And then when it came to, I wrote a song with him and all that. It's on YouTube. It's not really good quality. I'm thinking about redoing it. It's called Spirit of the World. It's on YouTube. It's on my account. It's Junk IO7. like I said, it's not really good quality, but rhythmly, it was. I did the drum tracks like at the last minute, and the guitar parts were in stereo off of a head that I don't know was doing chorus lines on it. And the bass, the bass was there, but the bass was so busy in there and something like that that I don't know, it kind of fit in the way it is. I may change that if I ever do come back to that project. When I do, maybe. But I think when we wrote the song and all that, he's came up with a lot of different music, and basically our influences is Metallica, Iron Maiden, Rush, Yes, Genesis, everything from the late 70s all the way to the mid 90s, basically, and then somewhere in 2000s. We're like everything from there and all that, and we're still listening to music till this day and all that. A lot of those songs that you don't expect to hear on the radio, but they're not there. But we do a lot of the underground looking, basically. My thing is when it came to like listening to the radio and all that, I grew up listening to 102.7, 91.1, or 96.7, or all those like hip hop, rock, everything from country all the way to R&B, basically everything from in that region. A lot of that music was really my influence on like continuing to listen to music and try to like when I bought my first drum kit, I bashed the living crap out of it. I didn't know. I self-taught myself how to play drums, and a lot of that self-taughting was when YouTube started getting big. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I bought a lot of like Joe Satriani DVDs, Steve Vai, Rush DVDs, Yes DVDs, Jimi Hendrix, a lot of those things. And that's when I was living in an apartment, and I bought my first guitar. Cost $100, but hey, it got me by. My cousin actually has that guitar that's still in one piece. It hasn't gotten sold or anything like that, but it's been through some wear and tear, but it's still got a lot. It still has a little bit of life in it. But it was my first guitar, and it was a guitar that I was very, very focused in playing. Got a lot of work on it. Swapped out a pickup on it. It was a very unique guitar for me. It had a humbucker pickup and then two single coil pickups in it. Well, the guitar was my connection to all these other bands, basically. And when 2000 came around, somewhere between 2002 from 2004, I started getting more involved into listening to music. And I started buying acoustics, electrics, the cheapest stuff that came off of the shelves of Sam Ash and Guitar Center, And I have a lot of those guitars still, Granted, I lost an acoustic that I used to have, the nice Yamaha, and I gave it to a buddy, but, it is what it is. You misplace things all the time, right? But a lot of the electric guitars I kept, or I gave them to someone. They have some kind of a special place in my heart that actually reminds me of why I started getting into playing the guitar. Granted, I don't have another bass, but I have the one bass that's been with me for the longest time. It's been my number one. I don't think. Eventually, I should go out and get another one, but I don't know if I really want to replace my number one that much. It's nice to have two bass guitars and stuff like that, but I'm not quite there yet. Oh, crap. God damn it. I don't know if this will work. Hello? All right, man. Okay. All right, bye. Yeah. Uh, those kind of things that really influence me in the playing, and like my bass guitar, it's got me from all that. That was my first bass that I ever bought at Guitar Center all the way in Huntington Beach or Newport. And then I bought this Max 115 PV bass amp that cost me $279 at Guitar Center. It's really powerful, It's a 300-watt amp, and it's really got it's got a really good tone on it, especially my hands. My hands are the tones, basically off the bass. It's strings, pickup, cable to a speaker, right? But yeah, those are the kind of things that really got me into music and all that. Like I like to listen to a lot of things, music and all. I mean, music's been really a big passion for me, always. If it wasn't for music, I wouldn't be in the spiritual world that I'm in, basically, that would grasp me a certain responsibility, all that. And that's good because, you need those kind of things. There's something that keeps you going every day, A cup of coffee will get you further out to the front door, but are you sure you want to have an extra cup? They say that music soothes the soul, and it does for me personally. It makes me reminisce about a lot of different kind of things. It's kind of like how would I put it, basically, my serenity. It's that kind of feel to it. I feel like I can actually surrender myself in a way where I can actually be peace with everything. And I love playing the songs that I play and all the new ones that I wrote with this guy that I worked with for the most part. Eventually I got cut out of the deal, or got let go because of certain things that didn't reach qualifications. And when you have to do what you have to do to survive and all that, especially when you're starting in a band and it's not making any money yet and you're living off of that, there's always a push plug thing for me that I have to pull myself out of those circumstances or out of those things, basically. And I had to put on my strap boots and start working. Those are what you have to do. You have to do what you have to do to make money so then you can start growing this business that we call the music industry or the art industry or somewhat successful. But that's nor here nor there, like everyone else has their idea of what should be and what should it sound like and all that. I never really sat down and actually wrote a song. I only wrote riffs. I never wrote lyrics. And I'm not typically a lyrics guy because I don't know what to say. I have a way of what it should be and how the approach should be and all that, but I don't know what the beginning start is for me. And then eventually I will figure that out. But when I do cross that bridge and walk through it, the point is not everything has to be the way it's supposed to be. Me, I have a difficult time with music. That's granted for me. But I love playing it, either way. But I'm going to cut this short. I got something I got to do. Eventually I'll do another part of this tomorrow, and, I'll have something better to say instead of sitting here and saying this is B-Bon's show. And it is. It's my show. It's me talking about myself and I. Me and myself and I. I love that movie with Jim Carrey in it. It's a nice movie. But that will come at a time. At this point, I'm going to close this close this this podcast or this recording or whatever you want to call it, however you see it, basically, at this. Have a good night and have a blessed night and be safe. This is Dustin Bebon, Junk Guy, DJ Doorstop, signing off. Have a good night.